LinkedIn Live if it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Hour of Empower. I'm Don Cohen. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm so honored to have Rita Wirtz with us also. You know Rita. She's been a regular lately and has really started to take over on Wednesdays. We're calling it Wonderful Wednesdays, and that's why the word of the day is wonderful. Hope your day has been wonderful, and maybe this will help you get to wonderful. So with that said, chat's open. We depend on you to direct our attention and where we can bring the most value to the most people and have as many takeaways as possible for your investment of your time and thought today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rita. Rita, what do you think, and especially about the word wonderful that we've chosen today?
Well, I think that wonderful is a wonderful word. So I have a wonderful hat for today, Don. This one's a little different. This one was one of my mother's. So dare I do it? Okay, get ready.
Well, that's quite an interesting hat. Where did she live?
We lived in I don't know if I can do it after all. We lived in Michigan, and my mother really loved hats. So we finally divided up her hats. I have one hat box and then just a whole bunch of hats. So they're all weird. I mean, especially this one. I like this with the little.
I think it's very, very nice.
Well, it goes with wonderful, Don, because if we look at the word wonderful, we're full of wonder. That suffix FUL always means full of something. So better to be full of wonder. So, Don, as we start, I thought about the word wonderful, and I was thinking about what would be one instance in my life that I could say was wonderful. And I think the first one was being on here with you. So that's where I'm going to start in our community of belonging. And I'd like to ask the audience, Don, one really special thing that was wonderful, either right now, last week, or last year, whenever. What's something wonderful? Let's start there.
Yeah, I mean, audience participation is great, and let's go right to the audience because of that.
Do it.
Leslie Flowers, who is going to be here Saturday, says a wonderful hat. Rita Wirtz, down. Yours needs a change. Okay. Well, I'll send me pictures of what you would like me to wear, and I'll check it out. You must have wonderful gloves, too. Well, it's kind of interesting because back in the day, hats were part of people's wardrobe. I mean, men wore hats everywhere. You can look at all the baseball games and boxing fights, and everybody had their little hat, some with a little feather. And, it was just another accessory or way of expressing your personality, right? Or your attitude that day. Sheaf is here. Wonderful. I mean, we're getting the word wonderful out all over the world today. W&W, it is a wonderful way to start off our day. On to you too, instead of hats off. Dennis got a very dry humor. Rita's here. Good evening from Antwerp, Belgium. Hello, Donald and Rita. Nice to be here again. Great to be here with you and for you. And, what is wonderful to you? At least think of it for a little bit. And if something comes from it, share it, right? And we can all learn faster, better together by being in the moment and relating to what are you thinking when you hear wonderful, and how much wonder is it? That's a key contextual point. So James
I use wonderful all day long, Don, and also I use wondrous with OUS. But everything to me is wonderful, and I started to think about how often I used it. And last night, as I was reading, I go, boy, I wrote wonderful about 5 times in my blog, and it's not even done yet. For me, I always look for wonderful, the same way as I'm always looking for a silver lining. It's just wonderful. There's something about saying that word. It's just effusive. And I just feel like wrapping my arms around everybody who's here this morning because everybody's so wonderful.
Well, it kind of reminds me when you put your hands up like that, like the sound of music, and that when she's in the hills and with her little
Yeah.
apron on and got her hands up in the air,
Right.
and why not live to create moments
Yes.
that even in the simplest form you find wonder in.
Yes.
That's what makes it wonderful. I think once you see something, I was just looking out the window, saw the cutest little puppy with the cutest little girl with her father walking it. And the
Right.
puppy was doing more of the walking than the girl.
Right.
Oh, boy, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Things play out in front of your eyes, and you can just accept them as if it's an entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can take some time to embrace them and create a wonderful moment and
Yeah, I agree.
and share it with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden they're on their way to wonder. So we've got James here. Well, we've got gentleman Renadeb Ray here. It's wonderful to be here.
Right.
James is here, watching from Ghana.
Who was here? Yeah, I was going to say someone was here from Ghana. Who was that? Okay.
James.
Okay. Okay.
We've got Cynthia. I call her Cindy because I couldn't pronounce Cynthia for a long time.
Right.
Got over it. I'm still calling you Cindy. Wonderful Wednesday, y'all. Thanks for being here, Rita. I have missed y'all. Rashida says, wonderful for me is when I wake up in the morning, I can go to work or just take a deep breath. That's wonderful to me. When you start there, you're already a winner.
That's right.
Right? Why start behind every day? Sheaf says, positivity and living in the power of now.
That's right.
Nathali, good morning. You both look wonderful. Thank you. Well, we caught up, Rita. So what is starting to adjust your definition and context of wonderful?
For me, I find the wonder. The wonder is all around me. And this past weekend, I got to see a part of Oregon I hadn't seen before. And talk about wonder. My eyes were popping out with fossil beds and painted hills. You look out at these vistas and you could actually see it looked like a paintbrush went along and painted. Our world is full of wonder. And when I feel that I'm being inundated with just stuff, that daily junk with passwords and calls and things that we really don't want to have, well, then I have to reframe that to a positive because, yes, I too believe in the power of now. Tolle's book never got replaced. There's nothing better than living in the now. So I think sometimes it's about looking at our world with intention. And when we really clearly spend some time in nature, or it could be just watching Animal Planet or fish in our aquarium, wonder is all around us, but we have to open our eyes, our hearts, our minds, and our souls sometimes to find the wonder when there's so much stuff, clutter getting in the way. So I look for wonder. And if it's not there, maybe I'll do something wonderful and create it myself.
Well, I think that's an excellent point because you can enjoy wonderment as a viewer,
Right.
And you can also be a creator of wonderment. I mean, people who make anything artistic have that potential to make people feel that there's wonderment in what they see.
Yes.
And maybe what you see starts to become who you are.
That's right.
So the idea then would be congregate around wondering people, who take the time to enjoy it, but also take the time to pass it along. There's too many people, if they can't make it, they don't share it. They would never buy somebody else's chocolate chip cookies that are probably better and give it to somebody else knowing it's a better cookie than I can bake it myself.
Right.
And I think that's where, as people move into this peer-to-peer future opportunity, it's what can you continue to contribute that has the most value and may not be just invented here, right? It's like, would you rather post something that you don't even think too much about, but it's an obligation or you had to work on getting it? Or why not just read a post that really got to you and share that post? Because then you become a curator, not a creator. And if you're going to put something out to everybody every day, what is the best thing you've read today? Well, you can still put your own out. Doesn't mean it's exclusive of what you do. It's like you can get a second post by just hitting the share button. Right? And why not? And I think that's what people need to appreciate is while they're waiting for wonder, and it's there, some of it just, you can't miss it. Right? When you see something happen in front of your eyes, and you can say, in some cases, it may be totally negative, but I still have to wonder how this all took place.
Well, they're distractions. Really, what you're referring to are the distractions. So it's about getting past the distractions to allow that intentionality to really focus, to really observe. And if we're talking about wonderful in relationship with our relationships with other people, one of the things that is wonderful is for us to not only listen with intention, but to fully observe. And a lot of times I do what Brad Hughes, a principal, had taught us. And he said, always ask a second question. So when I want to get to that wonderful, I have to go beyond, well, how are you doing? Well, I'm fine. Well, there's probably a whole bunch of things behind that maybe need to be looked at. And there's also a lot of wonder behind that response. And if I don't ask another question and really be with my whole being fully present with the person, I'm the one who's going to be missing out because I know there's wonderful stuff there. So we have to really give it our all and avoid the distractions as much as we can to be fully present.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, when you think of wonder, you also think of curiosity.
That's right.
Right? So when you wonder about something, there's usually a question mark right next to that.
Right.
And again, it's a word that, depending on where you turn it and how you apply it, can either bring confusion if it's I can't figure this out. I'm just wondering, versus a verb almost, that you feel the wonderment of something. It's not a curiosity, it's a engagement or an achievement. And that then comes down to, if you want more wonderment, what are you doing to achieve it?
Right.
What is your plan to get there? And even if it's a couple lines on a piece of paper, all of a sudden it puts things into focus and probably tells you need more than what you got down there to get what you need.
That's an interesting point right there.
Yeah. So once you know where you are and once you know where you want to be, how do you bridge the distance between those 2 points with your activity?
Wow.
And then the next level is, how do you then bring more to the bridge based on collaborating with people and bringing them into it?
That bridge that we come to.
I mean, you can build a bridge by yourself, or you can find 20, 30 really high quality individuals who want to go to work and get it done quickly and have more fun doing it.
And then the notion of wonderful to begin with, what's wonderful for you may not be wonderful for me. So I'm always wondering what is wonderful to you, and does that change? Is it wonderful in this moment, and then maybe 5 minutes later it's not so wonderful? Things change.
Well, sure. I
Question
mean, there was a point where people thought there were 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah, right.
Right. And you had to go to strange, exotic places to experience them. And there's still 7 wonders of the world that were, but how many more accessible wonders of the world have been created
That's right.
since then? And what is everybody's individual 7 wonders of the world? It could be their grandkids, right? It could be their pets. It could be anything that's precious to them is a wonder, right? I wouldn't trade anything that's a wonderment for me for the pyramids. I don't care what they're made of, or when they were constructed. So I think it's really the people have the accessibility, the availability in the now. That would you think of what you're going to order 2 days from now at the restaurant you're going to go to?
Probably I would.
Well, and you see, but there's a lot of people that would probably say, I'll make up my mind right before I have to do something if I can, right? If I can get everything I can learn or want to learn, and then allow myself in that moment to say, do I feel like eating something heavy, something light? Maybe I just ate something. You just never know. And when you keep all your options open and you have more choices, and actually the best way to eat then is a buffet. Right? You don't have to think. It's whatever you're got the taste for. And I think that's the same thing here.
Right.
Is what's your appetite? How willing are you able to share your order with the person who can provide that special food that you're looking for?
But when you start, when you start with the word wonder repeatedly, it really hits something I hadn't even thought about. But we're talking about wonder as the root. So if it's wonderful, full of wonder, then as I'm listening to you, I wish I could see all the comments. I'll have to look afterward. But what is full of wonder and wonderment for you may not be what it was for me or people who are here in our community of belonging. And I really hadn't thought about that. But if we were to go and say, oh, this was a wonderful show I just saw, well, it may have been for me, but not for you. And so that makes me think I need to also be more circumspect, and I need to be more validating. I think, but I think maybe I can grow with that too. That the wonder for you is not the same wonder for me, and does it have to be? But then I can take that and make it really big too, Dawn. I think we all could. So if I bring it back down to this little micro level, that would be my question mark for our community of belonging. Where is their wonder and wonderful? It's not the same as mine.
No, but here's the thing. When you hear other people's wonder, you feel and learn from that without having to adopt it.
Oh, yes.
And that's the beauty of knowledge here. Hopefully, we build diversity, inclusiveness.
Right.
Because it's not what you think or believe, it's how you express it that makes you who you are, right? If you bring things to the table for good, for wonderment, every opinion has validity,
right,
if it's softened enough not to intrude or to conflict with someone else, and that's why I'm totally against politics or anything that's divisive.
That's right.
There's never going to be a COVID show on an hour. I mean, just the word triggers people.
Right.
And all of a sudden it reduces trust, expression, because people should be known by how they do what they do, not how they think about doing something. Right.
Don, did you think, and before I ask the audience next, again, our community of belonging is so important. Are there universal things? I'm going back again because I have still the question. Are there universal things that everybody could agree are wonderful. Maybe Macy's parade or Santa coming. I don't know. It's different from, I think, for everybody, but I'm just wondering, are there any commonalities that we would all agree that something is just wonderful? What would those be?
Well, here's a distinction that I think comes up through your question.
Mm-hmm.
Is at a general level, everybody can agree.
Yes.
In other words, if you say, would you like to be safe in your home?
Yes.
That's wonderful for everybody.
Yes. Okay.
Right? Would you like to make sure your kids have a good life?
Right.
Now, if you get specific, and if you're getting like, did it happen in time? Did I get all I wanted? That becomes separate, right? Because people's desires and appetite is different. Somebody can be, I'm just happy with a piece of toast and I think it's wonderful. And some people got to eat like there's no tomorrow. And, and that's okay. But everybody will agree that it's wonderful to have good food. It's only when you say, well, what's your food? And someone says oatmeal and someone says eggs. And all of a sudden it's like, well, how could you eat that? Right? When you could be eating this. And that's where we need to continue to stay within the lines, is judgment, opinion that isn't constructive,
right.
And I also hear, well, that's kind of Pollyannish and we got to be real. No, we don't. If we have an hour, why not spend the hour totally encouraging and fortifying positive mindset, trust, communication, right. And outside of here, everybody can do whatever they're most comfortable, wherever they go, if they think that makes sense. But we'll get too far ahead of our audience. So let's dive right in. I'll give you a compliment right off the bat from Cindy. She approves of your hat. You didn't see that?
I think I'll start wearing a different one each time.
You should.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have a choice to choose to. Kim says, beautiful share, Rita. I can hear overwhelming gratitude flowing from you. How does being grateful awaken wonder? Nathaniel, I love what you're saying. As an artist, my primary goal is to contribute to the world by showcasing the immense power of emotions through my art. Beautiful. And you bring wonderment to so many people, and just like this show and other shows like it will continue to provide wonderment. This is for us in the moment, but it's for the years and years in the future, and this is legacy stuff that is evergreen. Everything we're talking about is just the way it is. It's now, how do we adapt to changing times with it? Can I be your friend? Sure. Everybody is intentionality. Great.
Right.
I really want to make friends. I don't know, James. I hear you say the word intentional. I picked that word for the year. Intentional awakens wonder with me as it opens my eyes to extraordinary beauty that surrounds us every day, reminding me of the countless blessings and moment of joy. So well put. We've got Kim, great point down regarding how wonder encourages curiosity. I believe this is fundamental when connecting with others. Well, it's so cool to have like a little rule book now. When someone does wonder, you can measure it against 5 different contexts that we might have communicated today. I picked that word as my word of the year. I created my vision board with it in the center. You're right there, and that's key, is just understanding what you need to do. Most people could do it if they actually knew what was the most important thing, what was the most valuable thing, and, take inventory. If you had $1 million in anything, you'd make sure you secured it and kept an eye on it and counted it every so often to make sure it was there. Wisdom begins in wonder. Socrates, great quote. It's nice when people go over and beyond and get the definition of it. Good evening, everyone from Romania. I know Liliana really well. She's a teacher, has got over 70,000 connections, and it's just a great influencer. So me and Anna have been friends on LinkedIn for at least 3 years. So thank you. Connect with Lillian.
That's wonderful, Don.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, hi, everyone. Went out, just got in. How are y'all doing? Blessed, I'm sure. May it get better. Absolutely. Okay, let me see if there. Okay, here's one. To me, wonderful is that which causes emotion and joy.
Right.
It also creates more wonder because it makes you think about how it was created. And why not get positive addictions where you create habits, right? That you can't wait to engage in, that provide so many people, including yourself, with wonderment. Why not just make that a priority in your life? Is how many wonderful things can you experience? How many can you share? And what can you create for others? And I think that's a pretty good framework for success. And really happiness. Wonderment really goes with happiness. Needed to activate. Okay. Okay. Let me see. We've got, we have so many things in common as human beings. Why dwell on those things that tend to divide us and pitch us against one another? That's so true. You got so much time. Why not invest it? Well, would you agree we can appreciate the beauty of a sunny day? There's everything around you. Just the ability to see is wonderful.
Right.
What you see then is extra wonderful. You got double.
Is the second with the super?
You got the super size.
Right.
Going to a favorite restaurant has me get excited as to what I'll order, and it raises my vibration to love. Well, what makes you feel good, and what doesn't. And it's just sorting through comfort versus uncomfort. If it was clothes, it was easy. If it doesn't fit, you just move forward, right? In life, you tend to make it fit, and that comfortable has something to do with wonderful.
Right.
Precisely, Don. That capacity to be satisfied with just the basics, to have simple taste, gives you more time with people instead of things. I love the power of words: inquiring, reverie, exploration, intrigue, ponder, magical, admiration, mystery, perplexed, reflection. Reflection was actually yesterday's word.
That's just wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. Leslie's, we must learn to manage our triggers and allow people to be who they are. Yes. Patience is so important to wonderful, because you got to give yourself the time to experience it, give yourself the time to manifest it, and patience will do that. If something really cool comes your way, spend some time with it. If somebody from the past was to come into your door who you couldn't wait to see, you wouldn't say, well, I got about 10 minutes for you today and I got to move on. It wouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Childbirth, okay. Natalie, looking into a child's eyes, wow, great reminder of wonder. Got a lot of comments today. Let me share my secret of joy, happiness, and peace that knows no end, and is regardless of what happens to me in the outside world. I just choose to be satisfied with the smallest and simplest things. I feel energy move through the soles of my feet. That is so cool, Olu, because it shows you're already engaged in what we're talking about. Now it's just doing more of it.
So, Don, do you think that we model wonder and wonderful, or do you think it really is just ours alone?
No, I think everything reflects and projects. And I think when you're feeling wonderful, and anybody around you will at least know you're in a wonderful state, whether it transfers. But I think just seeing something of wonder, just no different than when you're with people, I always say, who are just laughing uncontrollably.
Right.
If you're in that room with them, you got no choice but to laugh, and you'll never even know what they're laughing about.
Our suggestion. There we go.
Well, it's almost like people say, well, if they could do it, why aren't I doing it? Look at them. They're having a ball here. And I'm not. We're in the same place doing the same thing. So it's really maybe tells you turn the dial to wonderful instead of pitiful or whatever it is that's the opposite of it.
But we don't have a responsibility to make it wonderful for others when we can't even necessarily define our version of wonderful and the other person. This is where we really have to have that kind of the mind meld to feel that. I think it's where empathy comes in and compassion, not me, but we. I remember back when I was a school principal, the first thing that I stopped doing was saying my school, my teachers. It was our school, our teacher, this inclusive, safe space. And it was wonderful. It was beautiful what happened as a result of our working together. But wonderful. Just if we just all took a second and just said it and just open our arms to the world and say, this is just a wonderful day. If everybody did that as part of their morning ritual, if you do affirmations or you do yoga or you do a stretch, maybe that's something that we can ask for or recognize that we've already had something happen that started our day and it was wonderful. First of all, I woke up, I'm still here, I'm alive. If that isn't wonderful, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and I think like every word that we always have, it's just paying attention to the multiple contextual elements that a word can have, and it's how it's delivered. Is it delivered with love? Is it delivered with anger? Is it jealousy? Some people are jealous of other people's wonderment.
Oh, that's a valid point. I'm wondering whether our friends have other comments about that. I know there have been times when I have walked into a classroom or a school and it's just wonderful to me. And I know people are looking at me like, what's she doing? It's a mess here. And I'm like, I don't see the mess. I see where we can go with it, that vision and mission. But again, for me, it's the process of visioneering, which is wonderful because instead of it being me at the top with it trickling down vertically and you better buy in, which I don't believe in anyway, I do believe that if we go horizontal in any team culture, that wonderful will be there because everybody has a seat at the table. And if you happen to be a teacher, absolutely autonomy is needed and you need to have a seat at that table. But having the seat at the table is a really wonderful thing that many people have not had as an opportunity. So when we look at wonderful, it could be a wonderful hat. It could be a wonderful weather day. It could be a wonderful news that just came in. If it was my bank card bill, that wasn't so wonderful. I'll put that to the side, but I will find something else that is. And that's what kept me going over my long weekend when some things weren't going right. I just kept reframing it in my head and future pacing that right now isn't going right, but it's going to be better. And the minute I know it's going to be better, then I find my joy and my wonder. But I sometimes take a breath too. And I have to think about what's going on where I'm able to once again feel the wonder about me and feel wonderful. Sometimes I think we do get stuck for a moment. And I think that's normal. That's life.
Yeah, and what I do realize since we've been talking and watching what the audience has been sharing is you now are absolutely sure that there's more wonderment than you'll ever be able to experience. So in other words, there's so many museums, right? Or libraries. If you walked into a library, you'd know there's wonderful books here.
Right.
Maybe if it's only a small percentage, you know that they're there. If you go to an art museum, if that was your inclination, it won't take you long to find wonderful paintings.
Right.
If you go to a park, you're going to see birds and you're going to see people and dogs. So the question is, how much wonderment or wonderful do you want to schedule in your day?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. So are you saying that when we look at our day, if we have this little bit of time with whatever it is, meditation, or like I said, yoga or Pilates or stretch or nothing, maybe it's a cup of coffee and put some music on and get out and dance. But if we don't allow a time peace in the day, then we're just working all the time. And that's a growth area for me too. Absolutely a growth area. So I'm going to think about that too, Dawn, and I'm going to let you know how I change my morning routine so that I have more intentionality about properly setting my day, because I tend to get ready and just go, boy, where's my laptop? I'm ready.
Yeah, well, I think it's all about organization, but not doing it in a very organized way. So if you're really just adding spice to your day by adding more wonder wherever you need it, it's like punctuation, or exclamation is, where in my day am I starting to get down? When I should have started investing in wonder again for a while and stayed up. Instead of stretching something, one should just pause something
Right.
at the highest point.
Practice the pause.
Yeah, have some wonder.
Right.
Whatever it is. And if you erred on the side of too much wonder, you would still be very happy with yourself at the end of the day. If you said, I took a longer walk than I intended, but it sure was fun, and what did I miss? Something that's always going to be there for me, whether it's a video game, whether it's a something you read for entertainment. And entertainment can be wonderful. But the thing is if you come up short every day, who is in charge of the plan? Right? If you had a party planner and it didn't work out, you would say, well, what happened here? If you're your own party planner every day and you don't bring enough fun into it, because people are looking for other people to take care of their needs that they know nothing of.
Right.
That's why monetizing and materializing things in trusted relationships tip the scales a bit.
Right.
And so the key is to use the time you have to say, why are you doing and saying what you're doing and saying with other people? And is it to hear yourself talk? Is it because you think you have something of so much value that no matter who hears it, they'll think the same thing? Or is it, what can I give this person that I got a bunch of that will fit their day right now? And I'll get known by what I do for others than what I say about myself. And the people that keep wanting to talk about themselves is different than someone who wants to talk for and with others. And I think that's where wonderment comes in, is when everybody decides they're no valuable or less valuable than everybody else based on their wonderment, right? I mean,
yeah, I'd like to ask I don't like the word audience for me today. I'm just with friends. So I would like to ask our friends if you think, leading from where you went, John, that there is such a thing as too much time allocated for seeking wonderful and feeling that wonderful and sharing. Could there ever be too much? Could it get in the way of getting stuff done? I know what I think, but I'm asking our friends. What do you all think?
Well, until they respond, let's see what they've thought. Olu's here with James. You have more friends here. This is family. And I think to Rita's point, we are a family.
We are.
We're a community.
A community belonging is what we came to.
True. And how do you belong? By showing people they're wonderful when no one else has told them they're wonderful. But by telling them, thank you for the wonder you shared with me just now. If it was a video, if it was something. I mean, if you need to be heard and you feel that, and you've never had a platform or an audience you felt safe with, this is the audience while it's here, right? Take advantage of it, and nobody should share anything beyond their comfort level.
Right.
But no one should walk away with a question that might have gotten an answer today. And then it allows you not only to wonder about what took you so long, but now you can wonder about your next question that you can't wait to ask, because once you plug into the support system,
that's right,
it just continues to work in your favor. Omar's here. Omar, we're going to have Omar with Rita. Omar started with Rita her first time here. Okay, hi. Let's get to Kim, who says, so glad, I absolutely agree with appreciation of small and simple things. It makes all the difference. Well, you know, sometimes that's all you have left after certain situations is the small and simple things. And the museums, the libraries, the parks are always there for you, right? So many people feel if it's not theirs, it doesn't have value. You know, walking into somebody's house you'd love to live in is the same house that you want. So why not enjoy it and find it to be wonderful? You know, what's the difference between borrowed and owned? Possession. You know, that's really the only differential. And I'd rather have something and not own it than not have anything until I own it. You know?
Well, you're saying, Don, that we, not quite ownership, but if we have been imbued or we are so full of wonder that we keep moving beyond our boundaries and growing and learning and growth and transformation. I couldn't get it out. But are you saying maybe there could be too much? I keep going back to that same theme where I'm not sure.
I guess if it became a preoccupation where that's all you did was walk around being wondered about, but life will eventually redirect you because you won't be supporting your responsibilities.
Right.
So if you're not doing something constructive, that will eventually come back to you. But I think, again, in the full spirit of community, your wealth and protection is who you're with, not what you have, because you can easily lose what you have overnight for no even cause of your own.
And also when people come into the room and there are people that we gravitate to because they just emanate joy, that shining light, so to speak. And if you walked into a room and there's somebody really down and is that something that we really want to be around? And that's where culture comes in. If you're in an organization where everything is wonderful, I walk in and I feel a lot happier than I do when I walk into a school or an organization where it's palpable. It's just crummy. They don't like one another. They're not getting along. And in those situations, it makes sense for us to surround ourselves with people who understand our light and they shine just as brightly because of us. But that's also partly where leadership comes in, and joy in the journey, joy in living, teamwork, certainly better together, all those things that we talk about. I think it's real. I don't think that wonderful is just a word we can throw aside. I believe that that's part of what guides me, my purpose, my passion, the things that I do every single day to hopefully at least reach one person. Mother Teresa said, don't try and do it all. Reach for the person nearest you. So this is where that intentionality would come back in. And we want to make sure that our joy is spreading, our humor. I'm very much into laughter and silliness because things have been challenging. I always say laughter softens life's rough edges. So wonderful right now is where I think we need to be. If we want to stay down, 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 we will bring all of ourselves down. But in this community, if our friends today walked out and just smiled at somebody until they thought you were weird, you were bringing something wonderful. And you're saying, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're around me. I recently heard Warren Buffett do one of his many extraordinary speeches. And in that, he told stories of two people who had absolutely nothing, who became huge success stories, and partly because of their demeanor, and they exuded wonderful. Because of that, people will tend to follow with a leader that makes you feel good. If somebody doesn't lift us up and brings us down, is not wonderful. And those are the cultures where people don't want to stay, because it's all about us. It's not about that one person who thinks they're all that. We're all the same. We just bring different things to the party. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and here's another thought I just had, is the timeline of wonderful. Too many people express it as, oh, I saw a volcano erupt and it was just wonderful and
Right.
it lasted 5 minutes, and then we went back to the car and went back to our hotel or something, right? 5 minutes. But sometimes you have events and people and things that are always wonderful.
Right.
If you had a really good, dependable car, you'd think, this, I'm so happy. You're a wonderful car. You almost talk inanimate objects, right?
Right.
But
Right.
car's getting you through a snowstorm. It's like, hey, let's hang in there together. Let's get through this. I mean, so some blessings continue to have wonderment as they continue to unfold. So they don't have to be just once in a lifetime, or whatever.
Right.
You fill yourself with things
Right.
that are long-term
Mhm.
wonderments,
Right.
and that's really the relationships you have, because that's where you're going to get so much more than out of the things. And if people put less money and thought into things, they'd have more time and less need from other people for the things to buy the things. And now they can get down to really being people who have a need to socialize, to share, to care, and do it where it's all happening at the same time with all the other people around. If not directly, their energy, their focus, their intention is, let's heal some people today. Let's put
Right.
people on the better road. Let's give people the empowerment to say, they just threw away all my excuses I used to use. And not only that, but they replaced it with all these cool ways of thinking and doing. And that was the difference. Everybody's capable. If you gave somebody a roadmap, do these 10 things and just do them, and you'll get whatever comes with it. You would be, okay, let me get started. And I think that's the key, is getting started. And if you can't, reach out to somebody, and don't be needy. Needy is scary.
Right.
It turns people off, because it just
Right.
reflects kind of your mindset. And
Right.
Rita's point is, if you just came out of a spa and you're feeling, just wonderful, and someone
Right.
blows a cigar in your face,
Right.
right? Everything just disappeared.
Mhm.
And you owe it yourself to maintain the highest level of energy and vibration,
Right.
tension.
Right.
And when you see somebody that can steal that from you after you slept all night, prepared all day, and were ready to go, and all of a sudden they swapped attitudes for you, you know?
That valid point that I hadn't thought of either. So if we don't want someone to burst the proverbial bubble, what do we do? Do we keep the white light around us? Do we set boundaries so that we don't let them slow our roll? I hadn't thought about that, John, and family, but I think that it would be interesting to see and hear what other people thought about people who are just nasty. I'm sorry. There are some people in this world that are just nasty. I always make a point to be obnoxiously sweet to them, but sometimes you can't bring people
No,
along that don't want to go with
once you see a pothole, you do everything you can to
you.
avoid,
Right. If you've got
right?
misanthropic people, you don't want to hang around people that don't like other people. So that's the point. I never would have thought about that. That's why I love when we get together, because we spin off of each other and things that like, I'm not an expert on wonderful. I just know that I attempt every day to experience it in my life. And no matter what happens, I have to reframe it. Sometimes it takes me a little time. This last week, I had a rough week. But there's always something in me that will calm me. And for me, it's anchors. And one is I wear my mother's wedding ring. And if I'm having a really rough day and I happen to have on her bracelet, I need my mother. She's not here, but I need my mother. But I can anchor myself and I can think of all the wonderful things about my mother simply by just touching my hand. So I'm having studied neurolinguistics, NLP, about peak performance and getting certified that and hypnosis. These were a couple of the weirder things that I did in my life that turned out to be really great, because I have learned how to future pace. If I can't see it right now, I'll make sure I can see where I'm going, because if I don't, any road will get us there. And I also know that we can get rapport with people by watching their eyes. It's not mimicking, about getting in with their speech pattern. Might be moving my leg under the desk if they cross a leg. But if we get rapport with people, then we tend to feel the wonderfulness about the person. But if we don't really look and say, I see you, then we're missing out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, being decisive in whatever direction, and if you do have that goal and you do have that plan, you can't budget for distraction, interruption, or anything negative. I mean, if it's raining, you'll close your sunroof, right? I mean, so that's so true. To get back, Rocky's here. Rocky's just the greatest. Reach out to her. She's one of the best on LinkedIn and just a real quality person. Can't wait to have you back on the show. She was amazing when she was here. And I've been on shows with her. So thank you so much for coming today, Rocky. Thanks, Kim. Always special delight. It's what I discovered during my years of hardship, that I have the power to choose and decide to be happy or not. I just choose to be simple regardless of my circumstance. Again, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how fast you get up, because you're going to fall down. You just can't stay down. Hello again. Can't wait to have you back again. A grateful heart is wonderful.
Yes.
Start with simple and win, and then build the game. Don't start to totally difficult and almost get there and feel frustrated.
We have a choice, Don. We do have a choice. And our choice is, I choose to be happy. Or today, I'm just choosing to be miserable. But then everybody I meet will be miserable from being around me. So if I'm having a day where I'm a little off kilter, I'll just stay away from people, stay out of social media, just take a breath, go take a walk, read a book. It's imperative that we have ourselves in such a state of goodness and joy that we do rub off on others. And I do believe that if we come out and we're smiling and happy and feeling the joy, then others will feel that also. It's not mine. It will be their own. But I do feel that it's ripples, and it's going to keep rippling. But it starts with us being joyous and wonderful and finding what's wonderful and hopefully sharing it. But again, recognizing that what's wonderful to me may not. So that's where the empathy and compassion and being able to read the room is very, very important.
Well, maybe we should have a wonderful party in government where people just now start to support and advocate things that are wonderful, wonders that a government, an organization, a business could be, right? If their goal was to build wonderful experiences. I mean, how attractive would that be in the day and age of manipulation and all this other stuff? Because no matter how technology changes, we won't change as fast. We're not set up that way.
Right?
It'll take thousands of years to get something else doing something with us versus technology that changes. So what we should do is honor who as humans we are, is to enjoy and not to just make noise, you know,
Right.
and I think that's so important. So let's go through some comments because we get to an hour so fast on this show. I have a job interview. That's wonderful. Hey, being
Oh,
alive is wonderful. Once you start out knowing that you got a free pass on another day in the amusement park of life, you know, how do you want to spend it? You know, do you want to have fun or you want to scare yourself? You know, and everybody has that choice. And long term, you live longer, feel better when you're around wonderful things. I mean, how many times you ever go somewhere and someone says, I got to tell you this is the most wonderful thing that ever happened. And once they preface it with that, you can't wait because you know it will be. You know,
right.
it could be, I just saw a bald eagle, you know, and it was just so magnificent and so wonderful. And they're out there somewhere. I go to parks. When I was in Baltimore, they had this huge park. I couldn't tell you how many people had their binoculars on and they're just
Right.
looking for these birds. And I start looking for birds after I saw them looking for birds. So it does spread. The world itself radiates such infinite riches. We're sitting on acres of diamonds right now, but we're waiting for them to come to us in the way we hope they come to us, and we want to stay comfortable in the meantime. And there's so many unrealistic, conflicting thoughts we
Right.
have, right?
Right.
Versus getting simple and plain and looking at a ladybug and wondering how this ever came to be. It's the questions you ask to the things you experience that build the wonderment, because that's the answer to it is here. This is beautiful. Look at it, right? And those things we can all agree, or at least on the desire to see it grow and continue to evolve, you know, is a way of encouraging wonderment, because it doesn't matter where it comes from.
Right. Right. Right.
It just
Right.
matters where it's going to. And if
Mhm.
we can create a movement that people are now focused on helping each other
Mhm.
and get a message of empowerment out, that it's not you, it's how you've been thinking and who you've been thinking around, right? If you just can now plug it into where it belongs and align. And sure, with billions of people, probably half of them are the worst people in the world, but that still leaves you with billions who aren't, right? There's a saying, some will, some won't. So what? You know, it's just the way it always works. Kim says, two wonderful people to address the context of the word wonderful. How great is that? We are all so blessed. Well, you know, I think it's not only the word, it's how we go about addressing the word,
Right.
including everybody in it. And now all of a sudden the word was just a starting point, and it shouldn't be the ending point. We haven't covered the word. We've just
Oh,
uncovered it. You know,
right.
now it's up to you to say, hey, do I want to take this from the buffet and add it to my day and share it and see where it goes? Because that alone you can't miss, you know? I mean, there's no downside here, you know?
After you picked the word John, I laughed so hard because when I was writing yesterday, I kept having wonderful. This is wonderful. Oh, this is wonderful. I must have had about 8 times or I wrote wonderful in there because now it's stuck in my head. And I'm going, oh boy, this is just wonderful. So suggestology is real. And if somebody sneezed, you probably would sneeze. So if we're looking at the power of suggestion, then I'm suggesting today that all of us, when we have to leave, when our time for today is done, and we'll see you next week with a new topic. But for today, I'm wondering how many times you will say the word wonderful or write it. And I'll bet you're going to be surprised. This word sticks because life is wonderful.
Well, and I think maybe as a preface, life can be wonderful if you allow it to be.
That's right.
It's right at your door. You've got to greet it, embrace it, and that'll integrate inside of you and you'll manifest it. There's a process, you know, and it's a flow. You know, most people stop the flow with themselves to accumulate instead of
Right.
continue to flow, to circulate. And you never know, it's like that Let's Make a Deal show, if it's
Right.
curtain one or curtain two.
Right.
And that's the beauty of wonderment, is the hope that the future continues to contribute wonderment and you contribute to it. And, it's not just a life well served, but it's a wonderful life well served. Why not take it up a notch? Why not build on whatever it is? You ever get a cake and you figure, I can put one more thing on top of it. Decorate just one more of whatever it is, and you get lost in wonderment. That's how some artists and authors are. They just start writing and painting, and they forget time, they forget space. It's really called being in the zone.
That's right. That's what I studied.
And then find ways to get back there. It's a place, not only a word, that I want to live in wonderment, or in the suburb called wonderful, and how do I earn a house or buy a house there? If you can visualize bigger than yourself, as yourself in something bigger, not something inside of you that makes you bigger, that's really where you want to get, because things, I've had them, everybody who talks about money is the answer has never had money, or they would know it isn't.
Don, I have a question for you then, and again, friends. What you brought up about being in the zone, I write about that a lot because I write about champions a lot. And I'm wondering if you're equating, how do I say this? Are you saying that it's wonderful when we're in the zone? Would you equate being in the zone or flow state? Here's where I'm going. When Zeke Mahali did and I never say his name right, but I'm close, Zeke Mahali, when he came up with Flow, the Optimum State, and we read the book and we studied it for years and years, are you saying that if we're in a state of wonderful or wonderment, that would coexist or be right there with a flow state?
Yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with your attitude, and your ability to fully embrace and be comfortable in that zone.
Right.
You can enter it easily and exit it easily when you want to, and access it. I mean, because everything we're talking about are tools. Right? You can take out and use and say, in this situation, I'm going to need this type of tool, which could be, I just need to take a walk in a wonderful place for 10 minutes. I just need to get a good cup of coffee and maybe enjoy myself for a few minutes. You're your own boss. You get to give yourself a raise. You get to tell yourself you got to work more overtime. It's your choice to say, hey, you're a good person. Take more time for wonderment. How many bosses will say that? But the bosses who do will get so many more dedicated, loyal people, because what it does say is, I trust you to take care of yourself and to take care of me. So do it the way you feel you have to, and not measure on time, but on contribution.
So autonomy is another way of feeling wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, like anything else, is you have to be disciplined to be undisciplined, right? You have to get serious about having fun. It doesn't just happen. You got to plan it. You got to make sure you respect the time you allocate, because most of the time, I was going to go to lunch, but something just came up. No, something already is up.
Right.
Take it down, and you'll never miss out. There's so many people who saved their whole life and never got to do what they wanted.
Right.
And some people never ever earned anything, but never stopped enjoying everything they did.
Wow.
Right?
You've already taken the materialistic piece of the pie out.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of people that's what wonderful is to go shopping and buy more stuff that just fills stuff. But I don't know that I could take away from that. If I knew somebody who just really loved to go to the mall and shop, and that was wonderful for that person, I would get into that person's world and say, I really love what you bought today. I don't think it's for us to convince anybody that they're not right or they're wonderful isn't.
No, but what's sobering is when you go from a huge house, and that
Right,
house you went from was bigger and you just were
right,
able to carry everything
right.
forward. And then when you really minimize
Mm-hmm.
and you see how much stuff you had packed for 20, 30 years, you never even opened the box, you didn't know what was in it. And if it was
Right.
not here, you wouldn't know what you lost. It was just so much. And it got to be like, I'm never buying any of this stuff again, and actually most of it was never my stuff. It was
Right.
somebody else's stuff that was important or valuable to them, but I had no alignment with it. So the key is what fits you today. People are too focused on what they missed out on, what they should have done, what they could have done. And it's like, that's just when you're ready to go forward, when is enough of the past enough?
That rear view mirror is very compelling. Gotta
Well,
stay
because
away.
it's comfortable because you've been there.
Right.
That's been your life, and a new place is somewhere you've never been with people you've never met. And until people can say, hey, listen, it's all you now, it's not us, right? If you can't enter here, it's not because you weren't welcome or there wasn't an opportunity. It's just you talked and decided that when it came time to act, you weren't ready. There's no judgment on it.
Right.
And materialism, again, if you use that as a word, it's not an absolute, but it's not for someone else to take care of, right? I mean, so if you need money, that's an important thing. And you need to satisfy that unless you can figure that you don't need what you think you need.
Right.
But that's not someone else's responsibility to say, because you need money now, you're charging more to me, or now you have to make money off of me because you haven't been able yet to demonstrate the value. I mean, it's all that conflict, which then takes everybody from the middle and puts them back against the sidelines further away from each other.
Right.
Right. And if you're building a foundation, you can't expect the foundation to pay rent. When you finally built the penthouse on top of it, then there's something to it. And you got to figure whatever you need cannot always be sustained by something that has nothing to do with it. Without going in detail, when I had stores, it was always like the next store will make enough money to pay for this, or we can scale. If the first 7 or 8 weren't doing it, what's the ninth going to do?
Right.
And that's, I think, people have to come back. So we covered a lot of ground, went overboard. It's so easy to do. We've got comments that I'll just try to run through real quick. We have been given the power to choose happiness. Some of the lowest points in my life have illuminated my true joy. You don't know what up is until you've been down. And you don't know what
in the 70s, Don Richard Farina, an author in the 70s, wrote a book and it was called Been Down So Long Looks Like Up to Me.
Well, and again, if everything's situational,
right,
not permanent, it's like riding the waves, you're gonna, but you get through it somehow. And what you got to figure is, how do you want to look and feel when you come through it? Do you want to be bitter? Do you want to be angry? Or do you want to be empowered and say, hey, I'm so happy not to be where I just was. I'm just happy not to have to go through what I did twice. So everything is relative to the context you put it in. And, forgiveness is so important to have wonderment, because at a certain point, forgiveness helps you more than you think. And you think the other person doesn't deserve it, but if you're doing it for you, and they'll never know anyways, what difference does it make? If you're in mind to say, I just forgive you just to get rid of you, or forgive you because I'm tired already, then you're on to what you really want to. And plus, you took action with things that only you could act on. Emanating joy is key to gravitate wonderful schemes for everyone in the room. Just the power of belief, the power of sending energy. People get that, maybe subconsciously, but that's important, is how do you think about people when they're not in front of you? What wishes do you have when you don't post your comments to them? Best wishes. Ambambola says, hello, glad you made it. We rise by lifting others, is Robert Ingersoll. Here we go. Stop expecting, being you, and do whatever possible for others will help you seek the light of wonderfulness. The least you can do is encourage and bring a smile. We sure had a lot of words to wonder. Wonderment, wonderful, wonderfulness.
That's a good root word. Wonder.
Yeah, keep coming back in. There is some technical issues with LinkedIn. Let me see. Here's one. Yes, no matter with all advancement, you made sense, joy, and human side. Love the conversation. Thank you so much, Ice. That I got permission to use that word to share how wonderful to start your new job. Cynthia. Okay, it just keeps going and going. Oh, here's a big one. One of the most difficult things for me to come to terms with, because I'm usually a fiercely independent kind of person. Still, mostly, but I came to start real. I just can't be everything that I need or do. And I think that's a wonderful insight to gain. Am I able to find wonder in life from relation, regardless of material abundance? You can be happy with money. You can be happy without money. Like I say, money makes people who are good better, and people who are worse. So with that statement, Rita, final words for our lovely audience, not audience, but family, and what wonder has done for you today for this hour.
Boy, I feel like I've been lifted up. I know that when we give, we get way more than when we give. I've seen some research that said, and it's mostly anecdotal, I don't think it's pure research, but what they've said is that people who are givers tend to be happier people. So I think we need to keep giving.
Yeah, giving's getting in so many different ways. So I want to thank everybody. Tomorrow, we've got, let me double check. Tomorrow is Kelly. Friday is Christy's coming back. And Saturday, we've got Leslie, I believe. So we got a great lineup coming. More words. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day, and find wonder in everything and everybody you do today. Go out of your way for extra wonder today. So with that said, take care. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Yeah, I'll see you next